Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamanupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmaitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Yati Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're going to continue reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram, and we first offer our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Pavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tarasata Sri Simad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Pavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tarasata Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, under our exalted Rupanuga, Guru Varga, and all the Sambhu Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. So, we've been hearing extraordinary tattva philosophical information, conceptions about the identity, potency of Lord Balaram, Lord Nityananda, in preparation for Sri Baladev Purnima coming up. And yesterday we were hearing about his different expansions and their functions. Then we heard a verse that is talking about the spiritual realm and the material realm, which are based on the energies of Sri Balaram. The last verse we read was, beyond the material nature lies the realm known as Paravyom, the spiritual sky. Like Lord Krishna himself, it possesses all transcendental attributes, such as the six opulences. And now we're going to hear more elaboration on that. So, Sarvaga Anantavibu Vaikuntaridam Krishna Krishna Avatare Raratahani Visham. That Vaikuntha region is all-pervading, infinite, and supreme. It is the residence of Lord Krishna and his incarnations. So sometimes the word Vaikuntha refers to the planets inhabited by the various foreign forms of the Lord, distinguishing it from, say, Goloka. But also Vaikuntha means the entire spiritual realm. Right? And one meaning of Vaikuntha is the place where there's no anxiety. Right? No anxiety. This realm is full of anxiety. Can't help it. Our entire existence is always trying to overcome anxiety. Just making this adjustment, that adjustment, and when we reduce our anxiety a little bit, then we think that's happiness, right? I'm driven by hunger. And when I eat something, I'm no longer hungry. Oh, I'm happy, right? But even that happiness, so we get a little taste, something is there. But very quickly, when the hunger is satisfied, the appetite goes and the pleasure goes. We all know that because we've all attended many different elaborate feasts. After fasting, you're so hungry in the beginning, eating, enjoying, oh, this is great. But then you reach a point, there's no more room, and no matter how tasty and wonderful any prep is, it doesn't give you pleasure to eat it. It only gives you pain, the same activity, right? And if you think about all the different varieties of pleasure, they're all initiated and inspired by a discomfort, an anxiety, a need, a pushing, right? And this is a different realm, this Vaikuntha realm, and he's going to describe a lot of it, and I'm not going to be able to give any real explanation because it's completely beyond us. To try to understand the spiritual realm through material, through the mind and intelligence, which are material, absolutely impossible. There was a little story written, I don't know, years and years ago, maybe 100 years ago. It was about, it was a description of beings in a two-dimensional world. In other words, this and this, length and width, but no height. Now, even that we can't conceive, but he was trying to describe what those two-dimensional beings would perceive when they were interacting with the three-dimensional world. Right? The three-dimensional world, like say, okay, so this two-dimensional plane, it really has no height, but we can't imagine something without height. But as it goes down, it's observing the three-dimensional plane. What can it observe? Just the tiniest slice of it. And it has no way to really grasp the reality of a three-dimensional world. And it's sort of like if you have a shadow of a tree. The shadow of a tree, it represents the tree in a two-dimensional way, but the real qualities of the tree are only suggested in that shadow. Somebody who knows the tree in its completeness could understand, oh, that's a representation of a tree. And they can sort of see the whole tree in that representation because they're aware of it. But there's no depth, there's no color, there's no fragrance, there's no fruit. None of the things of a tree are in that shadow, but it's just kind of a representation. Mathematicians have theorized dimensions or existences, universes with more dimensions. Our universe, we talk about 4 dimensions, right? Height, width, depth, space, but also time, right? So we say it's a 4-dimensional universe. But they theorize mathematically of universes with 5 dimensions, 6 dimensions. But just as a shadow can represent in 2 dimensions something that's 3 dimensions, they create this geometric object which they say represents, it's like the shadow of something that would exist in 5 dimensions. And it's some kind of tetrahedron with internal things and all like that. And you say, oh, this is the shadow of something in 5 dimensions. But when you look at that, in no way can you grasp or understand what it actually represents, right? And neither can they. It's just a mathematical construct. So we're going to read about these spiritual realms, and we're going to get these descriptions, but as Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj talks to Brajanath in the Jaiva Dharma, the descriptions of the spiritual realm, spiritual existence, reality, it's only a very gross and incomplete approximation. It's all we have, though. And at least it gives us an idea and may stimulate an aspiration, right, for this. So, the Vaikuntha regions all-pervading, infinite, and supreme, the residence of Lord Krishna and his incarnations. Tahara u paribhage Krishna loka kyati Dwarka Mathura Gokula Trividadve. In the highest region of that spiritual sky is the spiritual planet called Krishna Loka. It has 3 divisions: Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokul. Okay. Sri Gokul, the highest of all, is also called Braj. Goloka, Shvetadweep, and Vrindavan. Okay, so when we hear the words Goloka or Shvetadweep and Vrindavan, it means that place in that Goloka Dham. Right? Sarvaga Ananta Vibhu Krishna Tanu Sama Upari Ado Vyapiyache Nahika Niyama. Like the transcendental body of Lord Krishna, Gokul is all-pervading, infinite, and supreme. It expands both above and below without any restriction. Now we're going to have a purport where Srila Prabhupada is going to explain commentaries and writings by Jiva Goswami about this subject matter. Commentaries from the Brahma Samhita, Krishna Sandarbha, and when I can't understand any of it. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to read it. And I can say this. I get a little bit better grasp than I did maybe 10 years ago. And I remember the very first time I read this, when I was a new devotee and read a translation of the Brahma Samhita. And I just glazed over. I couldn't understand anything, not one word. So, like the transcendental body of Lord Krishna, Gokul is all-pervading, infinite, and supreme. It expands both above and below without any restrictions. So no dimensional restrictions, right? How is that possible? Because we're describing a place, but it has no restrictions. At the very least, we can understand that in the simple way that it can expand and contract according to the need of the Leela, right? So there's no restriction. And yet, still, it's described in a way that it sounds like it has definition, length, breadth, width, all of that. But again, that's just to help us. So Srila Prabhupada says, Srila Jiva Goswami, the great authority and philosopher in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has discussed the abode of Krishna in his Krishna Sandarbha. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord refers to my abode. Srila Jiva Goswami, examining the nature of Krishna's abode, refers to the Skanda Purana, which states, Ya yata bhuvivartante puryo bhagavata priya tastatash santi vaikunte tatta lilartamardita. The abodes of Godhead in the material world, such as Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokul, are facsimiles representing the abodes of Godhead in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha Dham. It's important to understand the word facsimile. Sometimes when we use the word facsimile, we think, it just means representation, like a fax. A fax, take a picture of something, put it on the fax machine, two-dimensional representation of something else or a document. But really the definition of facsimile is like plenary. It's a complete duplicate copy, exact in every way. That's the original meaning of facsimile. That's how he's meaning it here. It's non-different in every way, right? Exact duplicate. So, it's a facsimile representing, that means representing to us in this realm, showing itself to us, the abodes of Godhead in the kingdoms of God, Vaikuntha Dham. The unlimited spiritual atmosphere of that Vaikuntha Dham is far above and beyond the material cosmos. This is confirmed in the Swayambhuva Tantra in a discussion between Lord Shiva and Parvati regarding the effect of chanting the mantra of 14 syllables. There it is stated, Nana kalpa latakirnam vaikuntam vyapakam smaret ada samyam gunanam cha prakriti sarvakaranam. While chanting the mantra, one should always remember the spiritual world, which is very extensive and full of desire trees that can yield anything one desires. Below that Vaikuntha region is the potential material energy, which causes the material manifestation. Okay, so that description, similar in the Brahma Samhita, there's a progressive description of the highest realm, Goloka, then the Vaikuntha planets, and then what's called Devidam, which is the material universes. So there is a hierarchy there. So the places of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as Dwarka, Mathura, and Vrindavan, eternally and independently exist in Krishna Loka. They are the actual abodes of Lord Krishna, and there is no doubt that they are situated above the material cosmic manifestation. The abode known as Vrindavan or Gokul is also known as Goloka. The Brahma Samhita states that Gokul, the highest region of the kingdom of God, resembles a lotus flower with thousands of petals. And when you read the Brahma Samhita, it's described, and in the translation, the English translation, copied from Srila Gurudev's Hindi version, there's also some diagrams of yantras and things which represent that place. But once again, how can a two-dimensional yantra represent that which is beyond 4, 5, 6 unlimited dimensions? It's an opportunity, a meditative tool given to us to try to conceptualize and focus. It's an empowered tool. And in the beginning of the Gopal Champu, when you read that, Jiva Goswami also describes that realm of Gokul or Goloka, Krishna's abode. And he describes it like that same thing, lotus petal, the center, the parikop, where exists, central activities of Vrindavan, the outer edges of it. He's going to say more of it here. The abode known as Vrindavan or Gokul is also known as Goloka. The Brahma Samhita states that Goloka, the highest region of the kingdom of God, resembles a lotus flower with thousands of petals. The outer portion of that lotus-like planet is a square place known as Shvetadweep. In the inner portion of Gokul, there is an elaborate arrangement for Sri Krishna's residence with his eternal associates such as Nanda and Jashoda. That transcendental abode exists by the energy of Sri Baladev. Right? What is that energy of Sri Baladev? The Sandini Shakti. Baladev oversees, and the energy, that Sandini Shakti, his energy, that is the source of the existence of Goloka Vrindavan and the entire Vaikuntha realm, and by its various expansions, because the Srimati Radhika expands herself into, she has the Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Yogamaya is the personification of the transcendental Leela Shakti that oversees all the beauty and the pastimes in Vrindavan, right? Facilitates all of that. But they have their expansions, which oversee the same functions in Dwarka, and which oversee the same functions in the Vaikuntha realms in each of those planets. So, that transcendental abode exists by the energy of Sri Baladev, who is the original whole of Shesh or Ananta. The Tantras also confirm this description by stating that the abode of Sri Anantadev, a plenary portion of Baladev, is called the Kingdom of God. Vrindavan Dham is the innermost abode within the quadrangular realm of Shvetadvip, which lies outside the boundary of Gokul Vrindavan. According to Jiva Goswami, Vaikuntha is also called Brahmalok. The Narada Pancharatra, in a statement concerning the mystery of Vijay, describes Tat sarvo parigo loke tatra loko pari swayam viharat paramananandi govinda tulanayaka. The predominator of the gopis, Govinda, the principal deity of Gokul, always enjoys himself in a place called Golok as the topmost part of the spiritual sky. From the authoritative evidence cited by Jiva Goswami, we may conclude that Krishna Loka is the supreme planet in the spiritual sky, which is far beyond the material cosmos. For the enjoyment of transcendental variety, the pastimes of Krishna there have three divisions. And these pastimes are performed in the three abodes, Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokul. When Krishna descends to this universe, he enjoys the pastimes in places of the same name, right? We know that. Vrindavan, Braj, Gokul, that place of his sweet childhood pastimes. And then up to a certain age, when he has manifested fully his full beauty with the gopis, that beautiful teenage form, and then he goes to Mathura. Right? And then he manifests slightly different pastimes which become more mixed with Aishwarya, more mixed with, or not, there's more of Aishwarya in Vrindavan than any place, but in Mathura and then finally Dwarka, the Aishwarya nature becomes more prominent in the sense that then people recognize, oh, this personality is not just some ordinary boy. He's actually, Narayan himself. But not everybody can recognize that. The nature of the, and this, he's going to allude to this a little bit later, that in these dhams, the speciality of the abodes that manifest in this universe is that even though they are completely spiritual, they manifest in such a way that those who have limited material senses can still perceive them. But they can't perceive them in their full beauty. You can only perceive these pastimes and these places according to your qualification. So even now, when persons like us go to Vrindavan or Navadvip, we see that place covered by a film of material energy. And the reality, the real place is there, and in the Jaiva Dharma, when Vijay Kumar and Brajanath are making great advancement in their chanting and their service under the direction of Raghunath Das Babaji, all of a sudden one day, walking along the road towards Babaji Maharaj's place, that eternal Navadvip manifests before them. And they don't see the place of simple huts and bamboo huts and thatched roofs and all of that, but they see the glorious place of Navadvip in its transcendental form with golden palaces and all kinds of extraordinary things. And then they even get a vision of Mahaprabhu in the house with Shachi Mata being served in a very beautiful way. So it's there. It's called Maya Drishya Prakash. This Maya, our vision is covered by Mahamaya, and we get that kind of vision. But those who are more advanced, they get more and more sense of the real Vrindavan. And gradually it reveals itself. And so one who has transcendental vision, an actual Mahabhagavat pure devotee, they can see Krishna's pastimes going on, even now. It's not different than when we see the deity. When we see the deity, we see them as if they're not moving and in forms of brass. But by all scriptural statements, when the deities agree to come in that form, they're actually in that Satchidananda existence. But we don't see it like that. And even when Krishna was here in all his glory and beauty, what did people like Jarasandha see? Or Duryodhana? Or Shishupal? They saw him as like them. Right? Maybe very powerful, maybe he has mystic powers, that's why he can do these strange things, but he's still of this realm, and they didn't appreciate him. And yet, simple-hearted devotees could see him in all his beauty and all glory, and according to the level of devotion, you would see his beauty more and more. This described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, that in the mirror of the heart, like a heart like a mirror, we see the beauty of Krishna reflected according to the quality of that mirror, right? That means according to the way in which we relate and serve Sri Krishna. And there's a beautiful description, I think it would be in here. In the heart of Srimati Radhika, in the mirror of her heart, Lord Krishna's beauty is revealed and shows like no other. And when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Gopi Gita, when after hearing all these extraordinary, beautiful prayers of love by the gopis in separation, which Krishna wanted to hear, and when they expressed themselves in ways that they would never do, except in this extraordinary state of separation, after waiting so long to be with him in the Rasa Leela, after being promised, I'll come to you, almost, the development of their relationship taking place over so many years, from when they were little babies to young children, finally, having so many more opportunities to come closer and closer. When he lifted Govardhan Hill, and they could stand so close to him, with everybody else, just looking at him uninterrupted for the entire week. Oh, later when he was in the arm, wrapped in the coils of Kaliya, and then freeing himself, beginning to dance in front of all of them on the hoods of Kaliya. He did that, and that was understood by different persons in different ways. Right? The demigods, they thought, oh, how extraordinary. He's the best of dancers, and they were playing musical instruments and accompanying him. And they knew he was God, right? And they were, assisting him. And his cowherd boyfriends were seeing him in one way. Oh, he's our friend. What a great dancer. Mother Jashoda and Nanda Maharaj were relieved, but still probably worried because the snake kept trying to bite him. But to the gopis, Krishna was looking at them and dancing in this way, so fast, so graceful, moves that no one had ever seen, looking at them and communicating with his eyes. Oh, see what an extraordinary dancer I am? Very soon I will dance with you in this way. So, after all of that, okay, we want even more greed. Oh, we have to dance with Krishna. And the whole summer goes by, and finally in the autumn, the conditions are just right, and the eagerness and desire of Krishna and the gopis reach a peak. He calls them with his flute. They come out. They're all ready to go, and then he says, oh, why'd you come out here? What are you doing out here in the middle of the night? Checking them. And they're, what? And they're so deeply immersed in praying. In the beginning, they can't even argue properly, right? They're confused, they're bewildered, they're struck with wonder. What, after all this, still? Then they get their footing, they begin to argue with him, and then they begin to dance, but after a very short time, and we know the reasons, some of the reasons why, Radhika leaves, and then Krishna leaves. And then, they were so close, and then no dancing. And then they were plunged into such separation, right? They begin to sing. And their songs are, never has anyone sung in separation like this before. Their love is of a quality greater than any other kind of devotee. That's why the Bhagavatam was arranged like it was arranged, right? All the different gradations of devotees, right? Serving and worshiping all the different kinds of avatars up to Lord Ram, and finally Krishna, Ete Changsa Kalak Pungsa, Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. And of all the devotees of Krishna, the gopis topmost. And then they sing this song, and then overwhelmed by that love of that magnitude, never having been expressed before, Krishna then appears before them in a beautiful form, which is described more beautiful than anyone had ever seen before. Why was he more beautiful? Because whenever, and this is described by Ramananda Roy, when the gopis show love and serve Krishna, he becomes so happy. He becomes more beautiful. And when they see him satisfied by their service and even more beautiful, they become selflessly happy. Oh, we've made Krishna happy. And then they become more beautiful and more ecstatic. And their ecstasy makes them even more beautiful. And Krishna, seeing that, that's his object, to make his beloved devotees, to exchange love. He doesn't need anything. He's Atmaram Aptakam, right? All his desires are fulfilled. He's self-satisfied. But he's controlled, attracted and controlled by love, by the degree of love. And the gopis showing love beyond any others, he shows himself in a form which no one else had seen. And of all the gopis, back to Srimati Radhika, his beauty shines more gloriously and more splendidly in her heart than all others. So the Goloka Vrindavan realm is the realm of the topmost devotees with the topmost love, created by Lord Balaram, so that these pastimes and this love can be exchanged. So, he says, when Krishna descends to this universe, he enjoys the pastimes in places of the same name. These places on earth are non-different from those original abodes, for they are facsimiles of those original holy places in the transcendental world. They are as good as Sri Krishna himself, and they're equally worshipable. Lord Chaitanya declared that Lord Krishna, who presents himself as the son of the king of Braj, is worshipable, and that Vrindavan Dham is equally worshipable. Right. What's that verse written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur about Tadama Vrindavanam Ramyaka Chedupasana Vrajavadu Vargena Jakalpita? Right? You know that verse? Come on. What is it? What is it? Arajo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadama Vrindavanam. Right. The topmost form of worship, topmost object of worship, is the worship of Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Right? Aradyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadama Vrindavanam. And his abode is equally worshipable. And of all forms of worship, the worship of the gopis is topmost. There's a secret in that verse, though, right? Because Krishna is described as the son of, he's described the offspring of the king of Braj, or the topmost, personality of Braj. Secretly, among Gaudiya Vaishnavas, though, they say that verse can also refer to the offspring of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, the dear friend of Nanda Maharaj, because he was actually someplace described he might be more wealthy than Nanda Maharaj. Because when Krishna goes out with his cows, how many cows does he have? 8 lakhs of cows, something like that. 800,000 cows he brings out. But Sridham the son of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, the older brother of Radhika, he has 12 lakhs of cows. He has actually more cows than Krishna. Anyway, sometimes it refers to Srimati Radhika, right? Topmost object of worship, right? So they're non-different. I mean, we worship Krishna as but why do we worship Krishna? Why do the self-realized souls in the mood of servants of Srimati Radhika, they have also great, great love for Krishna. They are of the nature of Kamarup, but they want to serve Krishna by assisting his topmost beloved, Srimati Radhika, in serving and making Krishna happy. So they make Krishna happy in that topmost form of service, right? They are kamatmika, but there's two kinds of ways in which people make Krishna happy. There are those who have the desire, they are sambhog ichamai, they're serving Krishna directly as his beloveds, like Lalita, Vishaka, the Ashtasakis. So many gopis expanded from Srimati Radhika, her Kaya Vyuha expansions to make Krishna happy. All the gopis in the Rasa Leela, they are of the nature of sambhog ichamai. I am the lover of Krishna. But then there are others, the special maidservants of Radhika, that also want to make him fully satisfied, but not by directly being with him, but by serving and assisting Srimati Radhika in her service. And there is tat bhav ichamai. They are experiencing a relationship with Krishna in a different way. They're not tasting it directly, they're tasting the moods of Srimati Radhika and her servants, and her other gopi friends. They're tasting it in that way. And actually, when you think about it, there can be no greater way to make Krishna happy than by assisting his most beloved in her service. Right? And therefore, the opportunity to taste what Radharani experiences, this is something which, who else can get this? Nobody else can get this. This is the most amazing opportunity. So, then the next verse is, Brahmande prakashatara krishnara ichai, ekai sarupatara nahi duikai. That abode is manifested within the material world by the will of Lord Krishna. It is identical to the original Gokul. They are not two different bodies. That's very important to understand. Srila Prabhupada explains. The above-mentioned dhams are movable by the omnipotent will of Lord Krishna. In fact, the word braj means that which moves, right? That which wanders. They're movable. They can expand, they can contract. When Sri Krishna appears on the face of the earth, he can also make his dhams appear without changing their original structure. One should not discriminate between the dhams on the earth and those in the spiritual sky, thinking those on earth to be material and the original abodes to be spiritual. All of them are spiritual. Only for us, who cannot experience anything beyond matter in our present conditioned state, do the dhams and the Lord himself in his archa form, his deity form, appear before us resembling matter to give us the facility to see spirit with material eyes. In the beginning, Sri Guru also appears before us like that, right? They'll take a form that appears in every way to be material. In other words, to give us opportunity to serve directly, interact, and serve in extraordinary ways, like during sickness pastimes. Why? To increase our love, to increase our mood of service. So give us the facility to see spirit with material eyes. In the beginning, this may appear difficult for a neophyte to understand. Yes, it is. But in due course, when one is advanced in devotional service, it will be easier, and he will appreciate the Lord's presence in these tangible forms. So, Bhakti Rakshak, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, he said one time that the way we see and understand our devotional life, devotional practice, and everything when we're in the Kanishta stage, the beginning of Kanishta, we see it one way. As we develop, even in Kanishta, our vision, our understanding, it will shift a little bit. It'll broaden, and we'll appreciate things in more mature ways. When you come to Madhyam, he says, then things change significantly. And when you come to Madhyam, and you're chanting Shuddha Nam regularly, your vision is so much more developed. And when you come to Madhyam Uttam, right, in this stage of deepening attachment, awakening attachment for Krishna in a particular mood of service, then the vision is very much different. And then when you come to Bhav, step by step, and when you read Jaiva Dharma, you read about the experiences of Brajanath and Vijay Kumar, and yet, even in very advanced Bhav, when Babaji Maharaj, now that's Gopal Guru, he's explaining things to them, and he says, and yet there are things beyond you. When you read about what they're experiencing, you think, oh my God. And yet there are things which are beyond them at that point. And Vijay Kumar asked him something about the state of Vastu Siddhi when you have the spiritual form in Krishna's Leela, and Gopal Guru very humbly says, well, I've not experienced that yet, so I can't describe it. Right? Of course he's experienced it, but even if he tried to describe it, it would be our ability to understand even in that stage. And in the Madhurya Kadambini, when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is describing these different stages of Bhav, he talks about coming to understand Rasa Tattva, understand and taste it. And he says that you may have to take birth in the state of Bhav and live in that state and develop in that state for a few lifetimes before you come to the ultimate understanding of the bhavs and experiences of those who are tasting real ras with Krishna in Vrindavan. How high it is. However, to be born in that state and to serve in that state, that's all right. That's pretty exalted, right? That's pretty exalted. Any rate, so tomorrow we'll hear more about the land there is touchstone and the forest abound with desire trees. Material eyes see it as an ordinary place. He's going to explain more and more. So we'll stop here and have our Guru Puja. All right. Oh, we're actually getting people coming in here now. All right. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananda Gauri Vaishnava ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.